Welcome to the first episode of Dark Sessions. I am Stories After Midnight, and I am with Slumber Reads. And I mean,
Yeah,
I've said this before, but legit, thank you for doing this with me. It's going to be a blast.
no problem, man. I mean, like, I'm always down for a good podcast.
I feel like they're not done as much, you know? I think can I use sleep on that? Am I cool enough to say that?
I mean, I'm slumber read, so like sleep is kind of my thing. But I mean, if you want to step on my toes like that, you
Okay. I guess
know,
people are woke on it then.
they're woke on it.
They're not woke
I
enough.
dig it.
All right. But yeah, I feel like podcasts are pretty underrated. And that's the way things are going now, where like people driving to work or stuck in some random quarantine gotta have something to listen to. Um, so, with that said, I want to just kind of go over what this podcast is. And some of you may have seen that on my Twitter, where I posted out the idea of doing a podcast that would be aimed around teaching people how to be essentially better narrators and how to break into it. And this came from a lot of late nights and early mornings scrolling through Reddit and seeing a bunch of different posts that have to do with getting started. And the amount of people that I saw just one posting in like the comments section of a story or going into like for example no sleep OOC and being like, hey, I'm a new narrator, if you want your stories read, you can send them to me here. And frankly, I
Yeah,
just
which
don't
is
think
not the
that's
way to do it.
no, that's cringy, especially from someone who does it and you're like, oh, okay, that's no. And it kind of happens a lot where you get people who are actually iffy about whether or not to ask for permission. And some of you may know that the writer's blackout, the no sleep blackout happened, and that was why. Um, Not asking for permission, and then a bunch of stuff about not receiving, correct or compensation. So the main point of this podcast is just to literally inform people and have a general conversation about what it takes to be a narrator, and hopefully we can have other narrators on and they can share their experience. So that is that's the short term goal, but we're open for anything.
I mean, I think separating the misconceptions is a really good idea because like I see the same thing. People want to be a narrator, they join up, and then they like, they just don't really know what they're doing. Like, I've the amount of times somebody's DM me and been like, "Wait, we have to get permission for stories?" And it's like, "Oh, no." Like, so you're not off to a good start. And then I explain everything, and they're like, "Well, I don't wanna, bother the authors." And it's like, "Well, I can guarantee you that sending them a message won't bother them as much as stealing their work."
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's, like, the most important thing to get through.
You're 100% correct. I've been doing this for like 2.5 years, and I think I've only had maybe two or three people give me an outright no. A lot of people just like they won't get back to you either because they're busy or that is them saying no. And I'm okay with that. But a lot of people actually, especially now, appreciate you taking the time to ask for permission. And they even say that when I ask them, they're like, thank you so much for asking for permission. Of course, you can go ahead and use it. And for some reason, a lot of people just seem to gloss over that and think, hey, it's on a public forum. I can just steal it, which is not the case.
I think it's sad how often authors will get back to me and be like, "Oh, I'm surprised you asked for credit because usually people don't." It's like,
Really?
that's so unfortunate. Yeah, I've gotten that many times, and it's like that you just know that there's a lot of people out there stealing work. Like, I think, we see the people that are on Twitter and the people that are a little bit more active on the YouTube side, but I think this community spans way farther than either of us think. 'Cause I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years on the 19th, and I'm still coming across new people constantly, like, all the time.
Mm, it's
Like
true.
there was one channel I came across. I don't remember the name of it, but they have like 250,000 subs, and I had never even heard of them before last week. And it's like,
Oh.
well, what? Like that's insane.
Yeah, yeah. And along with that, there's just so many starting up, even on a daily basis. You'd be surprised at the number of uh, messages that are essentially, "Hey, I'm a new narrator. If you want your stories narrated by me, send me a link." I literally come across a handful of them every day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much knowledge to be shared, and like I guess it all just boils down to just getting permission. Like get permission and have fun with it. Is like really all people need to know. But there's still a lot of misconceptions for some reason.
Yeah, and hopefully we can dispel some of those misconceptions during the length of this podcast life. But before we get too much further into that strain of talk, I know that a lot of you might know who Slumber is, but for those who don't know, who might be joining and haven't a clue who you are, why don't you tell them a bit about how you got started and why I guess you wanted to be a part of this? I know we share
An
a lot of the
origin
same
story?
ideals. Yeah, man, the origin story.
The
I don't
origin
think a
story?
podcast is a podcast without some sort of origin story. So if we can like hit that cliche nail on the head, like let's do it.
That
So you
I
have the
mean, I don't know,
floor.
dude, like, my starting story is so obscure. I feel like I got into this for totally different reasons than most. Um, Maybe not as a whole, but just as, like, my starting point. Because the only reason I ever created a YouTube channel is because I was in a Call of Duty team, and they basically wanted to take a shift towards content creating. And they basically told me that if I didn't create a YouTube channel and start uploading at least once a week, that I was going to be dropped. So I did, I created a YouTube channel, and my first few videos were just me doing, like, funny life story times, it was all comedy based, and I mentioned sleep paralysis in one of my funny story times, and people really wanted to hear some sleep paralysis stories. So I did that, and then, a subscriber, asked me to create an email because he had a creepy story he wanted to share, so I shared a subscriber horror story. And it just completely spiraled from there. Like, I started writing fictional stuff and people were down with it, and, I eventually found out about the horror community and just been going at it ever since. But to answer the second part of the question, why I wanted to be a part of the podcast, it's just because, for one, I love podcasts. Like, I don't think I'm smarter than anybody, I don't think I'm better than anybody, but there is a lot of misinformation, and, I think especially with this pilot episode, having a place to direct somebody when they have questions for starting out on YouTube would be a really nice thing to have. Like, just send them a timestamp and be like, "This is the requirements on permission, things that you need to know." Uh, and I think, like, something else that's really important is just not taking yourself too seriously. Because 'cause I've been doing this for, like I said, almost 5 years, and I still don't really take it. I mean, I take my content seriously, but I don't, like, take myself seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You just have fun with it.
And yeah, it's a laid back thing to just have fun with, and if you wanna get somewhere with it, that's cool, that's great. I think you can definitely do both, and, yeah, I don't really know how to elaborate any farther.
Oh, well, I would like to know how your team took it when you said that you were leaving to read silly stories. I'm sure you said silly stories, right? Or at
Yeah,
least they might
well,
have said silly stories.
they were down with it. I just stayed in the team still creating horror content.
That seems kind of, I guess, out of market for them, eh?
Big time, because I really wasn't contributing much at that point. But they also had a, like a sniper side to their team, so I was also pretty good on the sticks, man. So I wound up becoming a leader in the team and kinda directing the sniping side of the team, so
Were you doing some sick 360 no scopes?
oh, dude, big time.
Yeah,
All night,
you're
every
dabbing on
night.
them on the ground there, giving them a little
Dabbing
tea
on the
bag.
haters, bro. That's all
Yeah,
you
man.
gotta do. Dab on the haters, tell some scary stories.
Da- dab on the hater on the haters while. telling scary stories?
Exactly, man. Exactly. They never see it coming.
They never see it coming. Well, neither would I. Like, this guy's voice is elegantly smooth, and yet he teabags me with such grace. That's right on though.
I
It
think one of the biggest things to traverse was no shade towards the Call of Duty community. Actually, a little bit of shade, just a little bit, just a little bit. Got love
okay.
for them, a little bit of shade.
Okay.
The Call of Duty community is so incredibly toxic, like
Okay. Whoa,
it's
whoa,
so
whoa.
bad.
You're saying toxic, but like, are we talking League of Legends toxic or Rocket League toxic? Like, how
I
toxic
guess
are they?
I don't know the comparison, but I mean it's like the Call of Duty community, they'll support you, but they do it in a toxic way, which I think can be fun. Like I don't even really mean that in a negative way. Like it definitely keeps things interesting as long as people know some type of boundary. But then in the horror community, everybody's just super friendly and like really nice. So it was so hard for me to just like it's like hopping from like a cold ocean into a frying pan, or
It's
maybe
weird,
maybe like
right?
the opposite.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to
Either
explain
way, it's
it.
going to be a shock.
Yeah, yeah, because it went from people like, calling me like the R word and stuff on Twitter to, "Hey man, you got some really good stuff. Wanna collab?" And it's like, "Whoa."
You're just sitting there waiting for the chirps to come. Like, where's the yo mama joke?
It's like I thought y'all would hate me because like it's just kind of what I'm used to. Like fun hate,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, yeah. I mean, I love the horror community. I love the Call of Duty community too. Like, I think there's always pros and cons to any environment that you can get yourself into.
Well, we talked before about joining the horror community, and I mentioned like when I first got into it, I thought that everyone was going to be the kind of people that would like sit there listening to Slayer at 3 in the morning while like worshiping Satan. I thought that's how it was going to be because you're going to join a horror community. People are going to be eating other people's children or something. And like that's what I
Well,
I
yeah, I mean,
I
there's
had that.
there's some of that,
Oh,
like,
well, I've
I mean,
gotten
it's
into that
gotta be
myself, like
yeah,
since I've
it's
been
gotta be a good balance,
No,
like,
I'm just
balanced breakfast, a balanced life, little bit of devil worship here and there,
a little
you
bit.
gotta keep things rolling.
Yep, blasting Slayer and Cannibal Corpse outside of church on a Sunday morning just for kicks. Uh,
Exactly, exactly. I mean, you gotta assert your dominance, otherwise I don't know what you're doing.
exactly. I got to assert your dominance. So that's like what I thought, and then I got in here right, and I actually remember when I first got going was when Southern Cannibal, he posted a tweet and he's like, "Hey, I want to do a collab of like personal scary stories. It doesn't matter what sub count you got, it doesn't matter how big you are." And I had like maybe 700 subscribers. Like I was fresh off the press, baby faced, still couldn't grow a beard. And I sent
Okay.
him I I sent him, I think it was a message or I tweeted or one or the other. But anyway, we got in contact, sent him my audio, and he's like, "Man, you've got a great voice." Like, oh my gosh. And I forever will love Southern Canny for giving me that opportunity to get fully established in the community, because who knows where we'd be now. But when I met him and then started meeting like you and Swamp and a plethora of other people and narrators, I was like, man, these people aren't too bad. Like, this totally shatters the weird illusion that I had about the horror community.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean,
been
there's
pleasantly
so many
surprising.
yeah, there's so many friendly characters in the horror community, and, it's kinda like you said, you wouldn't expect that, but, I mean, we tell scary stories into a microphone, and I don't wanna speak for everybody, but from my experience, most of us are kind of, recluses, you know?
Hmm.
Like, we're not super, super social, but yet we can be, but it's like the ego factor just isn't really there in the narration community,
Yeah, I've never seen that. I haven't come across anyone on Twitter or
except for
anything
me,
like that.
obviously, I'm the
Y-
best, but
You are
yeah.
very egotistical about your 360 no scoping. And you know what? It's granted because I've seen you play COD and you are like you can carry. So we'll give you that. But I haven't come
Hell yeah.
across anyone, right, and been like, okay, that person's got an ego. Should maybe, watch out for them. But everyone that I've come across for the most part has just been like, I would hang out with a vast majority of you, or at least play games, and that's pretty cool. It's really cool that you and I can sit down and do something like this, even though I've never met you, and who knows if I ever will, because stuff,
It's the power of the
passports.
internet, man.
It is the power of the internet. But it's cool because everyone's just so friendly that like we can sit here and connect and play games and talk and run a podcast and do collaborations and do things like as if we had always done it, which is the coolest thing. You kind of walk into this community and you almost get to know everyone and become friends with people that that would make you feel like it's been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because I don't know, like I didn't get into this expecting to make friendships, right? Like I mean friendships are cool, but it's like it was never a goal. But like I've made a lot of friends doing this, and when it comes to the story narration side of YouTube, I feel like at this point I've talked to everybody at least once, which I don't know, I find that wild because it's kind of like you said. I had the same idea when I found out that there was other narrators on YouTube. I was like, "Oh, they probably would never be down to collab. They probably wouldn't even like me because of my Call of Duty background or whatever. No point even trying to hit anybody up." But I I don't know, like, eventually down the line, Swamp Dweller hit me up, this guy named, Dark Paradox hit me up, like, there was, like, a bunch of narrators that were hitting me up asking like, "Yo, man, you wanna work together?" And it's like, yeah, sure," like,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of spirals, and next thing you know, like, you're a part of a community, and it kind of almost feels like a family sometimes, like, there's arguments here and there, never anything too serious, but I don't know,
It
it's a fun time.
it definitely feels like a family. And I think that's what most of these up and coming narrators are going to miss out on. And I think for the most part, if they don't correct or adjust the way that they introduce themselves to authors and other narrators, I think that's something they'll miss out on because you get a rep really quickly. And especially when you're starting out, and reputation is basically everything. And like we were talking about before with going on Reddit and seeing these messages about just asking random, like blank slate invitations for stories, or for example, messaging you in DMs and going like, hey, check out my content, I'll check out yours. Subscribe, I'm a new thingamajig or whatever. I feel
I
like
did that
there's
when I started.
and that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, some things that we might talk about, like, don't think I was above it when I started. I mean, it's all from perspective and learning from your own mistakes and achievements. A healthy mix of both. When I started, I was one of those people that, like, had an automated DM set up that whenever anybody followed me, it would be like, "Hey, you should go subscribe to my channel," and it's like, looking back on that, I wish so badly that I could take it back, but, it's there permanently, it's there forever.
Mm,
Thousands of people have that message, so it's like,
wow, thousands.
there's yeah, well, I mean, 'cause my Twitter used to grow really fast back in, like, the 2016, 2017 era, and I remember I was kind of almost sad that my Twitter was growing so fast, but my channel at the time was going nowhere. So, somebody told me about automated DMs, and at the time, it wasn't very taboo. It was something that a lot of people did back then. I remember countless different big YouTubers that I would follow. I would get one of these automated DMs, so I didn't think much of it. But it's not until like now looking back on it, it's like okay, maybe that wasn't the move because I probably turned a lot of people away, and it's not like it ever really affected my growth anyway. Like, it's like hardly anybody, if anybody, would ever DM back like, "Oh, yeah, I'll go check it out." Like, it was so nonsensical, but It's one of those things that I know now that I can kind of share and be like, hey, like automated DMs, which I don't even think they exist anymore, but even just DMing people, being like, hey, go check out my channel is probably not the move, not something you want to be doing.
It's not. I think automated DMs were probably a thing at one point, but since everything's become so automated and like everything else, society is almost on a pendulum. So at one point, automated DMs would have been the cool thing. It's like, wow, I just followed this person and they messaged me and maybe they have good content. Maybe maybe they are worth checking out. But since technology like that has become so accessible and now everyone's doing it, it's becoming taboo. And
Yeah.
where the real value comes in is when someone tries to cultivate a relationship with you and through time builds that rapport. And this reminds me of a story. I think it was or late last year. This one person messaged me on Instagram and they were like, hey, I'm at like 599 subscribers. Will you be number 600 with like a laughing emoji or whatever? And that kind of stuff. But for some reason, that particular message kind of triggered something in me. And I
it
saw it,
started it started a whole new wave. No.
it did because I saw it as the holiest of teaching moments and I took advantage of it. I wasn't mean, but I was like, yo, essentially, what you're doing is stupid. Like, you're not going to build a good rapport with anybody. Nobody's going to want to collab with you or check out your videos. And nobody's going to want to do this and that if this is how you're approaching people. This is not how you'll get subscribers, not meaningful subscribers anyway, that will engage with your content. And
Right,
so,
right.
yeah, I had this like conversation with this guy, and I'd like to think that I changed his life, but who knows? I haven't checked up on him yet or since then. But we
Yeah, I
talked
mean it's
about,
it's one of those things where like I feel like I can't really share my opinion on something like that because I kind of was one of those people. You know what I mean? Not to that extent. I was never like I'm only one away, you know what I mean? Just to get them to click over. But I mean not far off, you know what I mean?
well, you can
It was
still have
always
that
like
opinion, right?
yeah. Yeah, but I think we could kind of segue into an interesting conversation that I think most everybody falls into at some point. It's wanting to see that growth but not getting it. And it took me a long time to figure out like the proper way to grow and like the real way to get a channel moving. And from my experience, it's less about trying to reach out to new people and more about entertaining the people that are already there. Because if you're keeping the people that you have already around, that means that you're doing something right. And more people will gravitate towards that because they're like, "Hey, this is like a community here. Like he's doing something a little bit special here." And then the people that are already subscribed to you will tell their friends and word of mouth is still, I don't care what anybody says, you can talk YouTube algorithm this, YouTube algorithm that. Word of mouth is still a very, very good way to spread knowledge about a channel. Because you got to think if one subscriber tells five friends and three of them subscribe, well, it's like you just got a 75% growth. And I think that's something that a lot of people overlook and something I overlooked for a long time as well.
Because I think what it comes down to is like we can play with the algorithm and all that fun stuff, and I think you should. You have to play the game right in order to get somewhere. But I think where the real value comes in is when you get that word of mouth. Because if I'm sitting here talking with you and we've got a good rapport, and you say, "Hey, man, uh, I think you should check out this channel. They're really good. I've been really impressed with them. Definitely go give them a listen." I'm going to be more apt to do that than look at them if they just so happen to come through my recommended feed on YouTube, because that's automated. There's no value there, but there's
Oh, definitely.
value in the friendship that we have and the relationship that we have. The value of that friendship transfers over to any recommendations that you have for me. So likewise, if I hated you and you're like, "Hey, check out this channel," I'll be like, "Hey, F you guy. I'm not gonna do any of that. They probably suck because you suck." So it's your reputation can help spread these these little channels, and like I was saying before, reputation's everything.
It truly is. It truly is. Cause I don't know, man. You kind of get known for things as you progress. And the thing is, and it's kind of unfortunate. You can do 1,000 great things. I've done a lot of things right, you know what I mean? But it's like the one or two things that you do wrong that people remember you for. And as unfortunate as that is, it's because the impact is larger. So,
Oh, 100%. People will, as we see in everything, scrutinize the wrong things rather than like looking at the positive things. And you can see that with
exactly.
like any company, right? Any big company could do a bunch of great things. But as soon as you do something that is wildly negative, that destroys your reputation and it takes it longer to get it back. It's like trust. It's actually like trust. So if you trusted me and I said something or recommended something or even did something that was detrimental to you, that trust would be lost in an instant, even though I may have known you for 10 years. And
Yep,
I
and then
think
everybody else that knows about it is like, "Oh, what if he did that to me as well?" And you know what I mean? Like it's a never-ending cycle.
it is. And that's why starting out in the YouTube community is so crucial it's so crucial that you start right. It's crucial that you start right and you gain that trust and you gain that reputation. Because if you start poorly, like I think a lot of these narrators do, and whether it be from ignorance or just not wanting to put the effort in, for example, asking for permission and just stealing stories, if you don't build that trust up and you don't run your channel with integrity, even from the start, you're already at a disadvantage. Now, if you did it right, and you decided, hey, I'm just going to take the quick the quick route. I'm going to take the short path, right, rather than playing the long game, rather than doing things the right way, even though they might not necessarily be the easiest.
Play
I think
chess, not checkers.
play chess, not checkers, and do things right. It might take you, for example, a month to get a story. It's very hyperbolic, but it might take you a month to get a story that you ask for permission to read. But once you get permission and you upload it, you will be very, you will be looked upon much more highly than someone who, for obvious reasons, just uploaded the story
Steals
without
something and
permission.
uploads every day, and yeah. Yeah, because people catch on. I mean, people will see, "Oh, hey, there's no link back here." I know this was on Reddit because, like, I saw it earlier, and yeah, I mean, it's not the route you wanna go, and I know a lot of people that won't work with people if they know for a fact that they're stealing stories. I know I won't,
Oh,
because
and neither
I
will
don't
I.
I don't wanna, like, have somebody send me a story and be like, "Hey, can you record this for my channel?" And then I do, and then I'm on their channel, and then, they get reported, and they're like, "Yeah, Slumber was also on the video," and it's like, "Well, I don't know, I just got sent something to read," you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I but but it's happened, and it's unfortunate, and then I have to explain myself and be like, "Well, I just took their word for it, like, I trusted them. I didn't think that they were taking anything. How would I know?"
right? And it falls back on reputation. So everything you do, you have to keep that in mind. For example, like unless someone sends me a story to read that they have permission for, and I can, again, trust that person, I won't do collabs. And this is something that I've recently come to because, as you know, in the horror community and narration community, when you do a collab, you basically send someone audio that you've recorded of a story that you got permission for your channel. And that's basically how it goes. They throw it in a video and then post it. I kind of had this like revelation, I guess, that maybe that's not right because
Yeah,
if I
it's
ask,
one of those things, like, I feel like it's slowly revolving right now. It's like, is that still okay, or is it not? I think it's a gray area that will kind of be, scoped out over time.
well, it came more so like down to, I don't know if personal conviction is the right word, but it felt wrong because I have permission to read your story for my channel. But who's to say if they wouldn't want me, recording their story than to send it to you, a much bigger channel where maybe the the what do you suggest recommendation? No, the I'm tripping on the word here, but the requirements, I guess. Because much bigger channels have different requirements to read a story, for example, compensation and stuff. Who's to say
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have different requirements for whoever's channel I'm sending it to? And so that's
Yeah, I
where
mean
like it kind of rubbed up.
it's interesting stuff because there's a lot of things that just I don't think have been addressed yet and stuff that you and I might not think about but other people do. A really good example is I do a best of every month. It's like a recap of the best stories from throughout the past month, exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly. Yep.
Um so for these best ofs I have like 40, 50, 60 stories in it. And, I still credit all of the authors in the description, but I don't have all of the links because at that point, YouTube is going to see all those links and it'll never get pushed. YouTube is going to be like, okay, there's something fishy going on here. So, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but I've heard this from multiple, multiple, multiple sources. You can't have that many links in a description. So I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe I could do something in the future, like a link to a drive or something that has all of the links. That way it's a one link that goes to a bunch of other links. And I think I will do that in the future. But I never thought anything of it. I was like, they're still credited. Everything is still there. They're all still stories that are either sent to my email, my subreddit, um, something I got permission for. But I had an author contact me, which is totally within his right. Great guy, great guy. But he was like, "I noticed that you, posted my story a second time in your best of and didn't link it back. I thought we agreed on that." And, I kinda let him know, like, "Oh, there's no ill intent there. If you want me to take it down, I can." But, um, I just wanted to have a conversation with him about, how he feels about that because it's something I never thought about, but it's something he did.
How did that
So,
resolve?
I don't know, like, it wasn't an argument from either side, so we just kinda, like oh, man, this is hard to explain because it was a pretty short conversation, but it was pretty long messages. I think he saw my side of it because I explained the link thing, and I even told him, I was like, "I don't know 100% if that's true, but I've heard it from so many people and so many different sources." But, his side was basically I shouldn't even say side because there really was no sides. But he was just telling me, like, "This wasn't the agreement, it's something that I expect." So, uh, I wound up just putting his link on there and, starting to brainstorm on ways that I could, um, make sure that it's never an issue in the future.
Was he okay
But
with that? Like, did it eventually end in a
no,
positive
yeah, I
way?
mean,
Like, yeah.
I think he was okay with it even before.
Oh, okay.
He was just wondering why I didn't link it the second time, and
Ah,
Um, yeah, no, I mean, it was a cool conversation to have because it's something I never thought about, and it's that ever rising standard, and I think that's a great thing. I think standards should always be rising. It goes back to like the automated DMs thing. Like looking back on it, it's like, man, I really wish that would have never happened because at the end of the day, I really didn't gain anything from it either, you know.
yeah.
But
You might gain
back
subscribers,
then,
but you'll never gain any meaningful subscribers or anything like that.
yeah, I mean, I don't even really think I gained many subscribers to be honest. It'd
You need
be
to
it'd
get a
be
new.
interesting to like look into the scope and figure out if I actually ever even gained one from it, you know what I mean? But it's like back then, nobody thought about that. Nobody. It was like every single time I would follow a big channel on Twitter, I would get one. So I was like, "Oh, that's just something people do." Well, it turns out, a couple years down the line, people would look back on that and be like, "Yeah, anybody who did that was a big piece of doo doo," and I'm just sitting here like, "Oh, crap." Like, I was one of them, you know?
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's interesting stuff how, like, things change over time, and, you basically need to either adapt or fall back, and, I think that's, the big turning point in any YouTuber's career, hobby, or what have you is adapting with the times and moving forward rather than getting stuck on the same thing for all of eternity.
Yeah, if you can't adapt, you'll you'll never make it. You'll make it for a time while the going or the getting's good, and while that trend is still in place. But as soon as that changes and you don't adapt, you won't be anything. So that's where, strangely enough, actually, well, strangely enough, I don't know what's strange anymore, but this automated DM thing is kind of taking a different form. They're adapting. So if you've noticed, or if you've ever seen that big quote unquote influencers or YouTubers are using like text message services,
Yep, yep,
it's the
yep.
same concept, right? Like,
It very much is.
you think that you're texting your favorite YouTuber, but really you're just essentially signing up for a newsletter, and they play off of that, and then you get some automated message. I would assume, because I'm not part of one, I would assume that it's to sell their latest product or something like that, but not to create any meaningful relationships, which is a shame.
Yeah, and like when it comes to the text message thing, I look at that and I'm like, that's pretty shady. Unless you're very upfront about it. If you're saying like, hey, just so you know, like it's just a notification thing is all it is. Then it's like, okay, yeah, do your text message thing. I think that's fine as long as people know what they're getting in for.
Yeah, be
But
upfront about it.
the automated DMs, it's like even though I regret it, I still don't really see the problem with it. I do, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the few times where people would DM back and wanted to have a meaningful conversation or whatever, I was always down. You know what I mean? Like always down. My DMs were open for a reason. It's not like I got upset when people would DM me about different things because I would DM other people about different things. But like I said, it's the ever rising standard, and as time goes on, as you grow as a creator, and as time goes on, more is expected out of you. And I think it's important to go by what is happening now and not what was happening last year because the differences could be very major.
Oh, it could be. I see a lot of shortcuts being taken by newer narrators when it comes to, and we're circling again back to permission and general blanket asking for stories, because it's so common that it's almost cliche. And those are a couple of the things that I've noticed when it comes to newer narrators. But you've been doing this longer than I have, and you've lived on Reddit probably longer than I have. But have you seen anything else that people have done aside from the blanket request for stories? And I know um, not asking for permission is a big one, but have you seen any patterns in how newer narrators get started that might not be the best foot for them to start out in? Have you seen anything like that?
Um, I don't know, cause I feel like I'm a very laid back guy, so I might overlook things that other people don't. I know one thing that does annoy a lot of people. It doesn't really annoy me. Is starting off and instantly tagging everybody and their dog in your video tweets.
Yeah.
um, like when somebody tags me, it's like, nah, cool. They just want everybody to see their content. I really don't care. I actually 9 times out of 10 will check it out and leave a comment and actually watch it. As long as I have the time. But I know that that's a big no-no in a lot of people's eyes, and, I think it's one of those things, it might have been a little bit more accepted a year or two ago when people started doing it, but not so much now. But I think it's one of those things that's so small, I don't really know if it's much of a talking point, but that is a big one that, comes to mind as far as the amount of times that I've seen people complain about it.
I think it's comes back to being genuine, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes back to
Well,
building that
actually, you know what? I
rapport.
do have I do have a very strong talking point.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Let's hear it.
trying to make friends with bigger narrators because you want to collab. So, okay,
Ding, ding,
my
ding.
thoughts on this, my thoughts on this might be a little bit differing from some people's. Um, But okay, if a smaller narrator DMs me and they're like, "What's up?" and then they have a like 5-minute conversation and then they ask me for a collab, I find that to be shady.
Hmm.
It's like you had a conversation with me just to ask for a collab.
Yeah, you
It's
didn't want to
like
actually get to know me as a
yeah.
person.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to cover your prints, right? It's like you had the short conversation just so that you could say that it wasn't the first thing you DM'd me. Whereas if the first thing you would have DM'd me was something along the lines of, "Would you want to work on a video together?" I would have been like, "Oh, hey, they shot their shot. Let's do it." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's all about transparency and I don't know, like it's so situational and just one of those things that's so scenario to scenario, but that's the way I feel about it. Um
I can
like
relate.
like I want to make it clear like there's nothing wrong with asking bigger creators for collabs. I think that's great. And I think that more narrators should be working with the smaller guys, myself included. I could definitely be doing a better job when it comes to that stuff because there's people that I'm close with that I haven't even worked yet, like you, for example. Um,
Well, I'm glad you
but
said it
it's
because I was going to. So here.
yeah, it's like how have we not collabed on a video yet? But we just haven't, you know.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's all about intentions, and I think intentions become very clear whether you realize that they do or don't. Uh, a lot of the people that have been around long enough um, will kind of be able to tell the difference. So I would say like if you're a smaller narrator, don't be cautious just because of what I said, but just understand that like people will see through it if you're not being genuine. And if you're DMing somebody for a collab, just ask for the collab. You know, don't have a short 5-minute conversation just so you can ask for a collab because I don't know, it comes off very shady in my opinion.
It is very shady, and you know what? It's happened to me, and like I mentioned before, it just feels like you didn't really want to get to know me as a person. You just want a piece of what I've spent so long building. And to me, that's just so ingenuine, you know? Like, it doesn't make me feel any better about what I've done when you come to me just wanting what I have. And when I first started, actually, I think to this day, I've never asked to collab with a bigger narrator than me. I've always tried to cultivate a friendship with that person, and for no other reason than to just get to know them, to introduce myself to more narrators. And if a
Yeah, and I
collab
think
came
that's
out of
great.
that, yeah, if a collab came out of that, then that's a bonus. You know, I I want a collaboration. Sure, I would love to work with you, but I'm more interested in getting to know you as a person and want you to want to help me. But that's not the reason why I talk to you. It's not the reason why I engage on your channel or engage on your Twitter, because you can do everything you want to do to try and boost your Twitter following, your YouTube channel subscribers. You can do a million other things. You can go to those subscriber farms or click farms or whatever. But it's funny how the more established you are, I guess, the more that being transparent and just being genuine and how you hold yourself as a person becomes the driving factor in everything you do. You might get some initial success doing automated DMs, automated text messaging, asking for subs, doing the quote unquote shady stuff, right? Yeah, that'll only
Yep.
get you so far. But it
Yep.
all comes back to how you hold yourself as a person. If you start your channel on the right foot, if you commit to running it with integrity and you commit to running it honorably and faithfully, that may not pay off in the beginning. It may take a long time for you to get somewhere, but
Absolutely.
the reputation that you'll have as a person and the fact that you could sleep at night with what you're doing will eventually catch up to you. And the more that you instill these these genuine intentions, the more that you commit to fostering relationships with people rather than trying to hit them up for a collaboration, the more that you get to know them, though I think the more one genuine friendships you'll get, and the more collabs, because those people will want to work with you because they don't feel like you just cheated them, or they won't feel like you just, wanted them for their subscriber count. And it all comes back to being genuine, being transparent, being honorable, and of integrity. And every sort of, I don't know if it would be, I guess it would be a soft skill, but these kinds of things you can't teach someone.
Yeah, it's one of those things you really just gotta learn as you go, and I think that's the most important part is just learning. Um, Nobody got to where they are without a few mistakes. Uh, like, I'm sure somebody will bring up later on, like, "Oh, you used to do automated DMs," and it's like, well, yeah, like, but I guarantee you had something up your sleeve when you started. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like most everybody does, and I think that's why it's important to have something like this around so that people can kind of listen and be like, "Oh, hey, like these are good points." Because I can tell you one thing, my channel never grew more than it did when I was just doing things right and
Exactly.
just working hard, just doing my thing, having fun with it. It wasn't until I stopped trying to chase numbers and just said, "Hey, let's post a lot of videos and have fun with it. Let's make some good videos. Let's make some quality content." That's when my channel started to grow. And um, I think that's a really good takeaway to have is just knowing that things will come in time as long as you're dedicated enough.
It's yeah, I mean you couldn't be closer to the truth. It's and it's so important to start right, to start that way. And the why I love having you say what you said and having you on here is because we're contrasting people in that sense. Because for me, I actually didn't do anything shady to try and
Oh,
grow my
nice.
channel. I before I made it, and maybe it's because of my upbringing, but I wanted to start my channel with something that I could be proud of. Could I be proud? And I'm not saying this to you because of the automated DMs and stuff or the text
Yeah.
messaging, but like, could I be proud of spamming people with my channel? Could I be proud of taking the easy route? Could I be proud of just bowing down and avoiding the challenging things, even though they will pay off in the long run? But I get short term gain with these easy ways. I was like from the very beginning, I'm going to start my channel with integrity at first, and the first and foremost, uh, I'm going to ask in DMs, and ever since my very first request to read a story, I DM'd the very first person and I asked if I could read their story. And that's how I've done it ever since. And maybe if I did shady things, I would be farther away or further, in the sub count and whatever kind of measurable metric you want to insert there. But maybe I could have been. But I don't think that wherever I could have been will match to where I am now, because it's more than the subscriber count and all that stuff. It comes down to the person behind the channel. And I think if people know me as someone who runs their channel with integrity and does things with the best of intentions and genuinely tries to do it that way, that would bode more better for me than if I had a million subscribers but I did shady stuff. It might take you longer to get there, but because you've built such a solid reputation and you can sleep at night knowing what you do, that will pay off in the long run, in my eyes.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm totally in agreement, man. I couldn't agree more.
Well, I wanted to contrast that with what you're saying, because this is why I think it's good to have you sharing these things. And I very much respect and want your opinion on uh, things revolving around growing your channel. And even though you did automated DMs, but have since come from that and seeing kind of
Well, yeah, I
I
mean,
thought the
it's like at this point, like if somebody brought it up and was like, "Yeah, blah blah blah," and it's like, okay, whatever. It was years ago, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even for that long that I did it, but it still happened, it is what it is. But
no.
it's like, I've uploaded just hours upon hours upon hours of hard worked content. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like, I've evolved from it. I've done better. I've really put my all into this. So if people want to hold something from the past against me, it by all means they can. But at this point, it's such a null point, right? Like I'm not gonna hear that and be like, "Oh man, that's such a good point," because it doesn't. It's in the past. Like it doesn't matter anymore, you know.
No, you
But
are right.
I feel like yes,
Mm,
I would be a lot happier with myself if that was a point that could never be brought up. And if you can avoid that, by all means you should, you know?
doing the
Uh
like automated, like the easy way kind of
yeah, yeah,
things.
just
Yeah.
just avoiding doing anything that could be later on seen as taboo. Cuz like I said, I can't stress enough when I did it, it was such a common thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because just because it's common doesn't make it right, and it goes back to the ever rising standard of what's expected of you and how things progress over time.
I think it's a point in your favor that you did that. And I want to point to, for example, like someone who has been a drug addict or maybe an alcoholic who struggled with X. You place whatever in this little box, and that's what they struggled with and came out of that. Their opinion on what they've done will matter more to you if you're maybe in like the same line or you're going down the same path than someone who hasn't been there. So if I'm sitting here listening to you and hear, okay, this guy did automated DMs, he did this, he did that, but now he doesn't. I wonder what he has to say. He probably knows a thing or two about growing a channel the proper way, else he would still be doing that. So that's why I
Yep.
like having your side of things on here, because it's like coming from the quote unquote dark to the light, and having those people that will relate to that and maybe listen. Like, I've tried this in the past. Let's see why he stopped doing it. And so I like having these contrasting opinions and processes for that reason. So good on you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean it's like if somebody who graduated high school tells you like make sure you graduate high school, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if somebody who dropped out of high school says, "No, seriously, graduate high school," it's like, "Oh crap."
Yeah.
Cuz that's somebody who knows the repercussions of it. And somebody that yeah, I mean it just the opinion can mean more as long as the person is aware of what the fallbacks of doing whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very good comparison. The high school thing. I agree with that comparison. So hopefully we can change some lives. Hopefully we can stop people from getting those automated text messaging services and flaunt it to their followers. Hey, you want to text me? Oh my gosh, well you should text this number, and then the next thing you know, they're getting like spammed about the latest beauty product or something. Who knows? But with that said, I think we're I think we're pretty solid on today's episode.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of really good talking points.
I think so too. And I hope we didn't run into too many future episodes. You know, for the next 5 episodes, it's 1 minute long, and it's just all of us going, just listen to the first episode. We talked about today's topic in there.
I think that's one of the fun things about podcasts is it's a little bit more real. You get to learn a little bit more about um the people running it than you do from standard content because it's real time. Like it's and things never really quite go the way you expect. Like one conversation could just totally windfall into another one, and I think it's good stuff. I think it's good stuff, and uh, if people can take something away from it, then anything I've said is worth it.
Oh
Same
man,
thing
yeah.
goes for anything you've said, you know?
Hmm.
As long as there's at least some takeaway from it, or maybe if people even just enjoyed listening, I think that's a good thing. And yeah.
With that said, thank you to all of you who have stopped by and watched or listened. In closing, I just want to let you guys know, well, you know where to follow us on YouTube, but if you're listening on the podcast and you want to listen to this live and stare at a Dark Sessions banner that isn't animated yet, then you can find us on YouTube at simply Dark Sessions. What a surprise. And on Twitter at dark_sessions. So
Too hard to
follow.
remember, can't do it.
I know. You know what? I I mentioned in Margbot's recent stream that I'm the most uncreative person, and I think I am. And I
Dude,
I didn't use an
self-confidence is the number one dream killer. Don't doubt yourself.
hey man, if I can get this far with a little bit of self-confidence, bingo. Because I never I always used to use stupid
Or
notification. I
self-doubt.
bet
Sorry, I
someone
said
probably said that.
self-confidence. Self-doubt is the number one dream killer.
Self-doubt is the number one dream killer. You are right.
Absolutely.
You are right. Um, but the thing is, like, I always used to use name generators for my stuff, apps. It doesn't matter what it is. I just used to use them because
Canceled.
I couldn't think of it. And I never actually used a name generator for Stories After Midnight. I had a creative spurt, but Dark Sessions, I did use a name generator, and it was
I think
actually
it's got a nice ring to it, though.
I think it does too. So name generators can be useful, but you remember that when I messaged you the first time, I was like, "Hey, Slumber, how does Dark Sessions sound? Does it sound stupid?" Like I kind of dig that. Like me too. It's like the first name I came across. I'm like, all right, let's stick with it. But now you know where to find us. I hope you enjoyed what we've had to share tonight. I hope you got something out of it. And I hope you just enjoyed listening to us talk about real stuff, like the things that matter. So I want to officially conclude and thank you all again for joining, for watching. This has been a fun night, and we'll
Yeah,
see
I
you all.
appreciate you having
Yeah, man, I am so
me,
thrilled.
and like I said, I'm always down for this type of stuff. So
The schedule I think will probably be every week, like a weekly Friday night podcast. Um, Either Friday night or Saturday night. So you can find us live on YouTube. And then if you want the more trimmed version, you can just find that on normal podcast hosting services. So with that said, this will be the official end to the podcast. And thank you all for watching, for listening, for being here. And we will see you next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
good night, everyone.
And that's the end. So basically, we'll cut it there, throw it up on the podcast. If any of you who are, I'm going to put snap so I know where it is. If any of you have any questions, want us to expand on anything, or have any general comments, just let us know. And we'll just take some time and see what we can do about answering those. But
Yeah, definitely. Now that we're just on the YouTube part, I like
yeah,
how my puppy Willow, she was so calm all day, just
man,
being such a good girl. And then as soon as we start the stream, she's like, "It is time to bark and run around." She's been jumping on me this whole entire episode. She's too cute.
yo, but she did good.
But
She did good.
she's like, "I just wanted to be a part of it. That's all. I'm excited."
Yeah, well, I mean, she barked a little bit there in the middle, right? But other than
Yeah,
that, like she's been pretty solid. You know, maybe we
yeah.
will actually have her on
She's a
next
good
time.
dog. Yeah, we'll interview baby Willow
Yeah,
and
well,
see what she has to say.
what do you think about upcoming narrators? Just
Well,
give
I
it.
think I like to walk on the hardwood floor when they're recording. It's my favorite part.
Yeah, I love having long nails, so it sounds like I'm you know where I am at all times. Yeah.
uh, I love dogs, man. They're too adorable.
Are dogs your favorite?
Oh, definitely, man. Like cats are cool. Cats are cool, don't get me wrong. But like a dog is a man's best friend.
Oh yeah, but
You
and
can't take cats for walks. I mean, I guess you can,
they just do
but
their own thing.
yeah. I mean,
They take you
cats
for
are
a
cool.
walk.
Cats are cool, like I said, like um I got a cat named Jasmine and she is like the biggest lover of all time. That cat is just all snuggles.
All snuggles,
All snuggles, man. She will
man.
have full-blown conversations with you.
That's amazing. I love cats like
Like
that. And no, dead leaf clover, you are not hallucinating. You did hear a dog bark. This has been Bork Sessions with Stories After Midnight and Slumber Reads. Thank you for listening.
Bork Sessions. I like that name. We should just go ahead and change it now.
Bork Sessions featuring your dog every episode.
I'll send you a picture of Willow and we'll just have her as the background for every episode.
Yes,
That way
please.
whenever she barks or something, people will just be like, "Oh, that's the dog."
And we'll
Like
just put up some like speech bubble of what we think she's saying, like every time. Um, I hope the audio turned out for this. I really do. I think it will. I really hope. If it didn't, I'm
You did
literally
it
gonna
through
cry.
OBS, right?
Yeah, it should work. I'm just
Yeah.
yeah, what I'll do is like cuz it's going to process up on YouTube, and I think what I'll do, and I should have recorded it now, but I didn't. I'll wait for it to process and then I'll download it and then I'll cut it. So,
Yeah, I mean that should
that'll
work
work.
fine. The peaks for your snapping fingers and stuff probably won't show up that way, but I mean it's all good. Um, I feel like we didn't really have too many mistakes or too many huge sidetracks. So
No, you know what? I think it went well. And we I maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I think we segued into every talking point perfectly. And
it's
I
because
don't
we're the
know.
best in the game, bro. Dark
Yeah,
Sessions on the rise.
dark
Like, what's good?
sessions. Yeah. You'll watch out in 6 months. We'll be releasing a mixtape,
Oh,
literally
dude, I'm
called
so down.
Dark
Like, I'm
Sessions.
actually down. Like no meme, not even joking. I'm down. Let's do it.
Dude, but I don't rap, man. Like I will play you, for example, I See Fire by Ed Sheeran, or Perfect by Ed Sheeran, or Castle on the Hill by Ed Sheeran. Man, I don't know if I can rap. I mean, I used to like listening to Macklemore sometimes, I guess, back in the day. Eminem, rapping to Eminem. Um, NF. I love listening to NF. Have you heard of NF?
I have he's got quite a few songs that I really like. I like Why quite a bit.
Yeah, his stuff was like real, man. When I first listened to him, it's like, dang, dude, like this guy. Okay, gonna segue a little bit from there, but I don't really like hip hop because a lot of it, I like songs where I can understand the lyrics and the lyrics have meaning, you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
when I listen to NF and all of his lyrics have some deep, like philosophical and emotional meaning, like man, that's my kind of music. Like I can rap to this, I can sing to this. But you know what, man? We're gonna we're gonna come up with a mixtape and we're gonna go and rival Corpse Husband. All right, and we're gonna rap battle him too.
Dude, he won't even see it coming.
No, he won't. But we gotta come up with like a name, right? I don't know.
Uh, Corpse Wife.
Corpse Wife. Corpse's second cousin, half removed brother's wife, uncle's dogs.
Yeah, people would be like, "You're only rapping because Corpse Husband does it." And it's like, what do you mean? Corpse Wife is the best in the game.
Yeah,
Like, no inspiration there. Like, what are you talking about?
we've been here
This was
longer. What do
all
you
on our
mean? Yeah.
this was all on our own merit. Like,
Who even is a corpse husband? How does
yeah,
that
like we
work?
were here first. I don't know what you're talking about.
You literally
We had a
just go
MySpace back in like 2008. Like, I don't know. Like,
Man, do you remember Pixo? Were you
who?
around for that? Pixo.
Pixo.
Yeah.
Is this one of those things where I'm gonna say no and then find out that I did and feel really bad about it?
It's like this really crappy website builder way back in like MySpace days where you could make the
Okay,
most.
yeah, definitely no.
No, it's like the most absolute absurd thing you could ever think of. I liked MySpace though, and like that creepy Tom guy always was friends with people. I'm like, who the heck are you? I don't even know you, Tom. Get out of here. But you could like put your favorite songs on your MySpace page so everyone could like come see it. Those were the days. You know, you could go
I feel
listen
like
to.
MySpace was just a little bit before my time, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel like it's probably a good thing
Well, I mean,
because I've heard some not so great things about it.
unless you're like 15, you're probably alive. How old are you?
24.
Oh yeah, man, you're fine. I'm only 27, man. It's all good. Like
Like
you live.
I feel like MySpace was kind of phasing out when I was still pretty young, but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, it it was probably at that like twilight zone of your
Is it still
age.
cool? Is
Yeah,
it?
but like
You
because
know, like
Facebook was coming around, right? So
yeah.
everyone's like, okay, peace out, MySpace. I'm going to this Facebook so I can put random pictures of myself on the internet and get rated if I'm hot or not. Yeah, you know, everyone did that.
Too accurate.
Too accurate. I did that
Too
once.
accurate.
I think they said I was like a 6. I'm like, well, this day sucks. But I was like 15.
Yeah, you just got to be like, no, you're a 6. And then back then, that was a pretty cool roast. Like, back in those caveman days when
I'm
people were still
rubber.
like
You're glue.
people were still scrawling on like walls and stuff when Facebook first came out. So like you would have been like hot stuff if you came up with that comeback. But
um,
you live and you learn.
you live and you learn. You realize that Tom is not actually your friend. Ah,
Saddest day of my life. He has a Twitter now, doesn't he? It's like Tom from MySpace or something.
you know what? I wouldn't even
Or am I
doubt it.
thinking of somebody else?
I wouldn't even doubt it. Let's confirm that right now. Tom from MySpace. Okay. Well, there's like a parody account. So I guess you're technically not wrong. It is there. Tom from MySpace 999 handle Junior the Barber. So make of that what you will. But yo, like,
Sounds legit to me. Definitely the same guy.
are we actually like? I think we need to release a mixtape, man.
I think we should.
Like, are we even real narrators if we don't?
I mean, are we even real internet users if we don't?
Like, how can the sun be real if our
Like if you
eyes are
if you
not?
don't leave something behind in your legacy for people to make fun of, I don't know what you're doing.
So we should just full on embarrass ourselves.
Yes,
So embarrassment sessions.
absolutely. I think that's the way to go. I think you know, it's a
Should we
great way to stay in shape
get a
and
synonym book, like a synonym
a
dictionary?
synonym.
Yeah, a synonym dictionary. Because I mean, we could do that, right?
Let's
We could
do it,
just
man.
flip through that for every rhyming word.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like as long as things rhyme, they don't need to make sense.
Right, but then you have to mumble them really fast, and no one understands what you're saying.
Dude,
Right? Did you even know what I said? Because I don't.
that was insane.
Right? That's the opening line of our EP.
I didn't know you had that kind of talent in you.
Bro, you watch. I am Eminem reincarnate.
That Macklemore?
Is that Macklemore? No, it's Corpse Wife.
Dude, I love Corpse Husband, man. He's cool stuff.
He is hot cheese.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Every once in a while, you kind of wonder like, why are so many people such a fan of this guy? Like, God. But then like with Corpse Husband, it's like, nah, yeah, he's pretty dope. He's pretty dope.
And you just listen to his really deep voice, and he tells you stories. Then he comes out with this rapping mixtape.
Honestly, I never really listened to his videos. Just because by the time that I was getting into everything, like I didn't
Like
really like I
his
said, I didn't know
narrations.
about the community. So it,
Yeah.
it took me a while to kind of like take a look at his channel. And like I kind of thought it was a voice changer at first, but I was like, is this real?
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah.
turned out it was. And then I don't know, his recent music is really good too.
It is a
Like
solid beat.
I will say I'm a fan. I will.
You know what? I am too, though. And because I like Corpse. Now, his music, like with the lyrics and stuff like that, I don't know how I feel. I don't, because it's just my type. Like I said, NF style kind of can see. I don't know, clear progression. I don't know if that's even proper, but I like his sound. He's got some good beats, and I think his voice is actually perfect for it.
Yeah,
It
it's very unique. Like I think
yeah.
I think he could have a very, very legitimate career in music. I really do.
Oh, I think so too. And you know what? Maybe that's how he sunsets. Corpse Husband from YouTube to making rap. And the next thing you know,
It's like Joji V2, except
Joji,
for yeah, Filthy Frank?
Filthy Frank?
Bro,
What?
are you even from the internet? Is this real life?
Am I from the internet? No, actually I'm new here.
Hold on. No, seriously, you don't know who Filthy Frank is?
No. I
Oh
like
man.
Philip DeFranco?
No.
Is Filthy
Oh,
Frank
dude.
like Mike and the Boys? Dirty Mike and
Basically, yeah, no, I mean,
oh,
pretty much.
okay, that's why.
Like from the other guys?
Oh, the other guys. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh, I thought you were referencing Dirty Mike and the Boys.
Yeah, well, I know that
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they dirty up that Prius or whatever it was.
I I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
I have no idea either. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just know Dirty
You,
Mike and the Boys.
you gotta look up Filthy Frank when you get the free time. It's very wholesome content.
I
Um,
feel like you're lying.
no, it's very wholesome. Like I would say pretty much any regular churchgoer or anything along those lines would very much like Filthy Frank's content.
No memes? Not
Of
memeing?
course not. No, yeah, no, of course not. I would never do that.
You know, I can't tell. You're very much a memer.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's wholesome content.
You know
It's
what?
like
Okay.
when
Okay.
I sit down at night and I'm like, it's been a rough day, but I need something just wholesome in my life. Something that will keep me grounded. Like that's
Filthy
what I
Frank.
watch. Yep.
Okay, well, maybe I'll watch a few tonight. Ravioli, ravioli.
Yeah, dude. Of course. Ravioli is pretty good.
Have you seen Kazoo Kid?
I think so. Is that just like the one video or clip?
I like to have fun, 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 fun,
Oh yeah,
fun, fun.
okay, yeah.
But like the kazoo remix or whatever it is, where it's like tripping you out.
Yeah, like the dubstep remix.
Yeah, man, I love that one. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna send you a video later. You might actually like it.
The internet is a very strange place, man. Like
Oh,
you never know what you're gonna get. Like somebody randomly sent me a video last night, and it was just called like climbing on a table, and it was this guy, and he was like like holding himself upside down on the side of a table, and he was just crawling around it. And it's like, why is this content? And then I realized that it had like millions of views.
sounds like a TikTok, bro.
It was like I don't know, it was a little bit of an older video, like before TikTok.
Hmm. Well, seems like I've missed that boat. You know what?
I mean,
TikTok is just
I missed
fine.
that boat until last night, and I wish I never would have saw it, but
I think TikTok is just fine, man. It'll be gone soon enough.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't kept up with TikTok at all. Like I don't know. Like I have nothing against it. I'm just not interested.
It's
So
literally
I'm
Vine.
not even. I feel like a boomer, man. Like I'm not even really sure what TikTok is or how it works.
Well, TikTok is just Vine essentially. You just take videos of you doing stupid stuff and then you get internet clout. And the next thing you know, you're on the Dr. Phil show because you've developed problems and your family hates you. And then from that, you become famous. Start a rap career, meet a bunch of rappers, call yourself Bahad Bahabi.
Oh, so I've been just doing this the wrong way the whole entire time. See, I thought I would get somewhere telling scary stories, but I mean, it turns out there's better avenues. So this might be the end of Slumber Reads. I
Slumber,
think I
please.
slumber, please. When summer eats, slumber feeds.
Slum- Slumber feeds. That will
After
be
he drinks a
your.
lot of water,
Yeah.
slumber peas.
Dude, you're coming up with a bunch of
When he comes out
Instagram
with
accounts.
merch, slumber teas. When he says something ridiculous, slumber, please.
Please do that. Slumber tease. I will buy a shirt with that on it.
When he sees something he wants, slumber needs.
When it's a
Dude,
nice day in the
like I
spring,
should just
slumber weeds.
dude, I should just like revert to like peak humanity and just respond to everything with something like slumber and then a word afterwards that rhymes with reads. Like I think that would be a very good way to go.
I would love to see you talking in the third person in public. It's like, hey, Slumber, what do you think about this, that, the other thing? Well, Slumber thinks that blah, 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 blah. Could you imagine? That'd be hilarious if you just started doing that. It'd confuse so many people.
I think it would come off as very egotistical. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm down.
I was just going to say that might be going against everything we just spent the last hour talking about. Well, didn't start the first episode off on the right foot, so here we are. No. Well, this has been fun.
It has been.
This has been fun. Dead Leaf Clover, anyone else here still watching? Just going to call the stream now so it doesn't go on too long. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that for an hour and 20 minutes we've been talking for meaningful things for the whole time, but they'll figure that out. Anyway.
Meaningful things the whole time is overrated. You
Right?
gotta throw in a couple memes. You have to. You have to.
I'm going to share a meme once we stop this stream, so don't hang up on me.
I'm scared.
Oh, you're going to love it. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great night. It's been a slice, you know. Thank you for watching and sticking around with us this long. I hope to see you all again on our next stream, recorded live in studio next Friday. So,
AKA our bedrooms.
to a T, our bedrooms. That's where I am right now. Anyway,
Same. I feel like that's what most people do.
You're lying if you say you don't. Straight up facts.
Like USB mic in the corner of the bedroom. Like I don't know.
Right?
It's the only way. It's the only way I know.
That's the pinnacle of starting. Actually gives me an idea for the next episode. Starting equipment. How should you start your podcast or your YouTube channel?
Man, I have so much to say about that, but I probably just no, I won't say anything.
No, hold it for that episode. I'm gonna mark it down in our overall topics notebook. Equipment.
It's like an itch that I just have to scratch anytime somebody's like, "You need good equipment." I'm like, "No, you don't." Like,
you know what? We'll do that next Friday.
I'll just hold it. I'll hold it.
Yep. No, we're stopping it now so it doesn't, continue on into the late morning. But we'll talk about that next Friday. How about that? So if you've got already the podcast topic down, so I'm sure you can, other than just spitballing, I'm sure you can come up with some good ideas and some good talking points. So
I have a ton.
Until then, this is now like the fourth official end to the stream, and my fourth time saying thank you. And we will, for the fourth time, see you next Friday.
Oh, hey, actually, did you see? No, I'm just kidding.
Screaming internally. Anyway, we're going to end it here. So we'll talk to you all later. Have a great night. Goodbye.